All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Goose, and Nick. Motivated Optimism. In this episode, we have special guest Nick Eberhardt. We cover topics that range from choosing career paths, transfer students, motivation, optimism, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Henry Ford and Ralph Waldo Emerson. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off. Nick, thank you for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be on.
Absolutely. All right, so Motivated Optimism, right? So for those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, let us know.
Well, as you already mentioned, my name is Nick Eberhardt. I'm currently a student at Delaware Valley University. I'm a secondary education English major. So my goal is to become an English teacher at the secondary level. So that would certify me through 7th through 12th grade.
Nice.
I started out my educational journey at Bucks County Community College. While I was there, changed my major 4 times. So I had to go through adversity of finding what was the right fit for me.
Yeah.
And I finally figured out what I wanted to do. And so far, this is going great. I'm loving my time at Del Val, and I can't wait to see what future semesters have in store for me.
Nice. I like it. All right. So explain the college education experience, right? So a couple of us, gone to college and understand exactly what you're saying. It's such a strange thing, right? When they tell you to, decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life, as a teenager, right? Mm-hmm. And then, for a good majority of people, they pick the whole undecided route, which is fantastic, and whatever floats your boat. But explain to us your experience. How'd that all work out for you?
So out of high school, I had a few different options in terms of majors I was considering. I started out with business administration. I wanted to do something in the business field, whether it was something sports related or just business in general.
Yeah.
I did that for about a year. That worked out pretty well, but then I just felt like it wasn't the right fit.
Yeah.
So then I decided to, change up a few different majors. Tried secondary ed for history, didn't really like it. And then I went to liberal arts. Did that for about a year. That did benefit me because I was able to get a lot of the general electives out of the way, which has benefited me, as a transfer student. And then about my last year and a half at Bucks, I decided to major in English, and I earned my associate's in arts degree in English. And now that I transferred, I'm doing the secondary ed part of it. So I'm starting to take education classes, going into schools, observation hours, things of that nature. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. So were you influenced by anyone? Did anyone talk you into? I know, like when I was in, I guess it was like my sophomore year in high school. You have like guidance counselors. You have other people leading you, maybe family members. Did anyone like kind of walk you through a couple things or share their experience, or you kind of just did it on your own, trying to figure it out?
It's hard to say. I mean, both of my parents, neither one went to college.
Yeah.
So. I couldn't really go to them for advice in terms of like being a college student, but obviously you can go to them for advice for anything else, in terms of, decision-making processes.
Yeah.
So I definitely had their input and their opinions factored into it, but I also just kind of went back on what do I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, I always liked writing, so I felt like the writing aspect was going to be easy, more so learning the literature aspect and having a greater appreciation for different types of text, say like American Lit, British Lit. That's grown over the years. So that was kind of my motivation behind that. And I always liked the subject of English, but now I definitely have a greater appreciation for it.
So you said you wrote a lot in high school. Was that stuff you did on your own, or projects that they had you do? Or is it, and what kind? Is it poetry, other forms, or short stories?
So I went to Jimmylee High School, and it was part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
But I did have some, creative writing that I would try on the side.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was just more so to, get through high school, get your grades. Now I definitely find myself, messing with poetry a little bit, trying different things.
Yeah.
My interest in writing has definitely grown even more so. But now I have to combine both the writing and the literature side of it too.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to be more open-minded to both.
So do you have any like little brother and sisters or cousins or family members that come to you now when it comes to picking colleges or how that all works, about your experience?
So I have a lot of younger cousins, especially on my mom's side of the family, and they've gone through the process, started at Bucks and were transfer students as well. So I would try to give them advice whenever I could, whether it was just questions about the transfer process, financial aid, picking a major, whatever the case may be. Just try to pass down my advice and my wisdom to the younger generations.
Yeah.
Also, as a student at Bucks, I did the same thing. say I had a classmate in my class would sit right next to me, I would just pass down any kind of information I had for them so that way they were informed as well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, helping out people. That's what it's all about.
Right. So during that process, I know a lot of it there's a lot of pressure, right, with passing and getting the proper grades because it's unlike high school. Unlike the high school, I went to a public high school as well. You have to pay for for the curriculum, right, and for every class that you take. So there's pressure on that aspect, and then there's always the natural pressure of you told your friends and family that you're going to graduate in 4 years, 5 years, whatever that plan is, and that you feel like you have to live up to that initially or whenever it is. So there's just like a lot of pressure in that sense. How did you handle that?
Well, there's always going to be pressure from outside influences.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have to do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
You can definitely get distracted, and your decision making can be influenced by those outside influences. But at the end of the day, whatever you do that makes you happy, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And this major makes me happy. What I'm doing now, I'm very pleased with, and I hope to keep it going.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, get obsessed with listening to outside noises, and they allow it to affect their decision making process. And I feel like it is important to be open-minded to other people's thought process, but at the same time, you have to do what's best for you at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's definitely true. So how did you, know to go from, Bucks to Del Val? How did that decision come about?
That was a hard decision. I originally had about 10 schools that I was, doing information searches about.
Yeah.
And then I finally narrowed it down to about 3. Those schools were Lebanon Valley, Del Val, and Eastern University, all small private schools.
Sure.
The reason I was attracted to those schools, they provide a small personal type atmosphere that I was looking for as an education major. I really wanted to get to know my professors on a personal level, and I actually planned to visit the day before I decided to commit to Del Val. Me and my father, we visited the campus one last time, and I met with the head of the education department, and everything he told me, it felt right.
Yeah,
and I'm big on
awesome.
vibes.
Yeah,
and the vibe
awesome.
was just right.
Yeah,
he even had
awesome.
another education professor come in and talk to me as well. He was a really cool guy. I have him as a teacher right now.
Wow.
And first day of class, he gave us his cell phone number, and he said, if you want to talk, text me. Any questions you have. If you want to set up a meeting in my office, just send me a text and we'll set it up. So
Nice.
I feel like it's very personal, and that's what I really was looking for in a transfer school. And on top of that, Del Val did take a lot of my credits. They took 74.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, a little less than 2 years, maybe 2 with student teaching.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Del Val's just a beautiful area. Doylestown's a great area. A lot to do up there. So football team's really good. So kind of had a nice whole package to it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very cool. So how does one stay through so much transition, right? So at Bucks, and Bucks, we're saying Bucks, it's Bucks County Community College for, folks not from around here. Going through so much transition, so much change, how does one stay, how do you stay optimistic throughout that? Because that can set a lot of people back mentally, like, dang, here goes another setback, or here we go again, I'm changing. You said you changed your major 4 times, and then you're a transfer student on top of that. So explain kind of your thought process, and maybe it'd be helpful for someone out there going through the same thing.
Yeah, so the times were definitely tough. I had to stay dedicated to my goals. I always looked at the bigger picture. Yeah. The bigger picture was always, I wanted to get this degree, become a teacher, and just, be the best person I could be. Yeah. And I feel like that was my drive. Even when there's times where, I don't feel like reading this book, or I don't feel like doing this homework assignment, I just say to myself, it'll be worth it in the long run. Yeah. And so far, that's definitely been the case. Yeah. School has definitely humbled me a lot. Yeah. I feel like I just kind of went through the motions before. I was a good student, but I wasn't as good as I could have been. Sure. Now, I feel like I'm an excellent student because I push myself as hard as I can to, achieve greatness. Yeah, that's awesome. When I was going through school, I had me and my buddies who were, shout out to CP3, we're meeting up this weekend for a Temple game. Me and one other my roommates were going through the same major, and the other 3 were doing all different types of things. One was in film, one was in tour and business, and etc. Everyone just had different schedules, and it just made it so hard to be motivated when somebody's playing a video game and you're like you're walking to the library. Because for me, it was kind of like what you're saying. I just kept my mind set on like, this is going to be worth it, this is going to be worth it, but it's still, that doesn't make it easy.
And not nothing against them. Their schedule was just different. And when I was probably, just hanging out, they're studying. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But you have to be disciplined for that. How do you take that on?
It's really hard. I mean, you see your friends and other students, doing outside activities, and you're like, oh, what am I doing? I'm stuck in here reading a book, 300 pages of a book, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And it's very hard. You're looking at them and you're like, what am I doing? But at the end of the day, again, you got to think bigger picture. What's more important? And it's getting that degree. You're spending a lot of money for it, and you got to make it worth your while.
Yeah.
And me as a commuter student, it's even harder because I am stuck on campus. I can't really leave and do things. So I need to take that free time and really get a lot of homework done. So that's one way I'm able to manage my time really well. That's a big thing, is managing time. If you don't do that, you're just going to struggle as a college student.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's huge. That was another thing. And actually, there was some level of motivation there. There's always something too about looking forward to something, or if you have work later that evening, for example, you're going to do what you can within that day to kind of knock out a bunch of things. And using your time wisely is definitely one of them. One of the things that I learned was, getting up early. I don't know if you're an early bird or not, but do you use that to your advantage, getting up early by any means, or you have to get up early just because of your schedule?
I have to on Monday and Wednesdays. I have a 9:25 class, and with my campus being an hour away, I have to get up early. I'm not a morning person either, so I need that extra time to get ready. So I use that to my advantage. Just get up early, make sure I get a normal start to my day. And then you just go through the whole day, wherever it takes you. But just again, keeping that right mentality is what it's all about. So.
That's awesome. What did you have do you have a like a mentor or someone you look up to regularly, or you kind of just you take a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person? How do you continually to grow?
Well, as a student, I always try to pick every professor's brain. They have some different take on everything in life, whether it's academically, socially, whatever the case may be. They have something that they can contribute to you as a student. And I always try to pick their brains. My education professor, the one I was talking about before, that I met on my last visit before I decided to commit to Del Valle. I talk with him almost every single day after class. He's always willing to take the time to answer any questions I have, and just talk about life in general. So that's always something I really appreciated, him taking the time to do so.
So during this process, what has been something that you learned about yourself, whether it's perseverance or just having that fight in you? Because more than ever, a lot of the stuff we see, John Maxwell wrote a book titled "Talent is Never Enough," right? And so we see all these people all over. We all know these people who are full of talent, and they would run circles around us when it comes to talent. But when it comes to work ethic, the opposite is true. We can run circles around them, right? What have you learned about yourself through this? Is it that perseverance? Is it that using everything that you have, that you've been gifted with, even though when compared, I know I can speak for myself, compared to most people, it's not too much, but I've utilized every little bit that I had and highlighted it.
Yeah, the one thing I'll always guarantee, I'm not going to be the smartest person or the most talented at something, but I will work just as hard, if not harder, than anybody else. I feel like you can control your work ethic, regardless of what it is. If it's your occupation, if it's your education, if you're on a sports team, regardless of what it is, you can control your work ethic. You can be the hardest working person in the room. Absolutely. And I feel like that's something that will never die as long as you keep that mentality in your mind.
And that's your brand.
No
People are going to know you for that, right? They're going to say, Nick busts his tail off in everything he does. And I'm a firm believer, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? Growing up, there was this super confident guy. I'm not even going to use another word, but he was very confident, let's just say. And very just kind of like a showboat, I guess is the better word. And he pulled up, he had this real nice car or whatever, and it was gorgeous. I mean, it was shining and the wheels were whatever. And I never forget, everyone kept asking him yo, can we see the inside? I want to see what you got leather seats or whatever. And he said, no, it's locked. It's locked. You got the keys, dude. So long story short, he finally opens it up and it's trashed inside. I mean, trashed, dusty, just stuff everywhere, McDonald's just wrappers everywhere. And that every time someone says that, and it was funny because this guy then the more and more you got to know him, that's basically how he did everything. He just did stuff for show and really wasn't really about what he was talking. He never really walked the walk. And it's just funny to see when I heard someone say how you do one thing is how you do everything. That was the first person that came to my mind. But it's your brand. It's your brand. So again, if I know that you always show up on time, you always, you're a team player, and you're willing to sacrifice and give something up for the end result because it's something that you really want. You then become dependable. Now that is your brand. It's like, all right, he's dependable. But if you're somebody who always quits or always gives up, or never picks up the phone, or etc., then that's your brand. Eventually, that's how you do everything. You probably don't also pick up for other friends. You probably show up to work late. What you're doing now, and anyone who's in college right now, I'm telling you, you are setting the tone for the rest of your life. Can we all change? Absolutely. Can you change 10 years from now? Absolutely. But if you're starting now, it's the best time to get started because you're going to have those habits created. Now, looking back, I talk to my college buddies all the time about it. It was like that work ethic, going into work, so to speak, or going into the library where everyone else is playing video games or doing other things, built who I am. And you could see it afterwards where it's you're not just satisfied with just doing one thing. This is what I'm talking about where we running circles around people when you have X, Y, and Z businesses outside of your career, and you have a beautiful, loving family that's supporting you all the way through. That's a lot of different things to juggle all at once. But I feel like what set the tone really, truly was being on my own at Temple University. And the reason why I say that is my parents showed me work ethic. They showed it to me, right? And I started working as a young buck, right? Real young, probably like 5 years old, working at flea markets with my pop. And but you really get challenged when you have to do it when it's up to you, right? And even though in college you kind of are in like a little bubble, depending on who you are, it's still you have to do it on your own, and it's up to you. So that's where the challenge came for me. It's like, all right, dude, you said you wanted to be here. Now prove that this is where you want to be. And then even worse was now I was seeing, while I was going to school, seeing people drop out, seeing people go back home and never come back. And that almost scared me because my first semester I didn't do too hot, and I almost failed out. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? Super excited to be there, and then that was it. I don't know if it was because I was so scared, or that a combination of that I just wanted it so bad. But I think there's a lot to say that's your brand. And whatever you want to do in the future, whether it's being a teacher, whether it's being a coach teacher, that seems like that's probably in your path later on. People are going to know that. They're going to know, and they're going to feel that off you, the way you teach. If you tell them you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you do it, they're going to expect that. They're like, oh, he's a dope teacher. And here's another thing, while you're going through school, or what I'm saying to everybody else, whether you have a boss or whether you have a professor or whoever, and there's a lot of things or there's something that they do that you do not like, I always just tell myself, I know if I become a boss or if I become a teacher or a professor or a dad, I'm never doing that. So there's lessons you can learn even from the folks that you're not too fond of, let alone learning from the mentors, so to speak. But on that same note, not everyone has that mentality. Why do you think it is that some people don't make that turn and continue to go? When you chose to transfer, when you chose to change your career path for the fourth time and never gave up and still did it, why do you think people stop there?
I just think they get, again, too influenced by the outside noise, and they allow that to cloud their judgment.
Yeah.
They don't want to commit to something because they feel like they're a failure, and maybe because people are telling them that.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're stuck in that, and they can't get out of that mindset. It's very hard. That's why it's good to have a support system around you, whether it's, professors, teachers that care, coaches, family, friends. It's very important to have that because they can help you get through those tough times. Yeah. And I definitely had that with my family. So. Yeah,
that's awesome. What about expectations and going through that process, and you had an expectation that maybe you didn't meet, but then you had to adjust it. And then you did meet that expectation. Do you think sometimes people set themselves up for failure by having too big of expectations?
Yeah, I do believe so. I think people put too much pressure on themselves, and they feel the burden of having to live up to those expectations, that they become stressed and unhappy. If you're stressed and unhappy, that's not a good way to live your life. If you want to live a healthy life, you got to avoid stress as much as possible, and you have to take at least one positive out of every day and make it a good day. If you do those two things, you're more likely to be happy. If you're a happy person, you're more likely to be successful and motivated to do greater things.
Absolutely. So how do you, is there anything you use to get motivated? Is there, do you listen to music? Do you get pumped up by that way? Do you read specific self-help books? Is there something, or watch videos? Well, we have access, literally, the world is at our fingertips, is the saying now. Is there you use any of those kind of mediums for that, or are you just kind of self-motivated and just keep it moving? I'm
pretty self-motivated at this point. Being an older student too, I'm more mature, so I know what I kind of want to achieve in life.
Yeah.
But there's times where I'll go to the, inspirational quotes, videos, things of that nature that, can be a little extra push if I need it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm pretty dedicated at this point. I've gone through adversity, so I feel like that's made me stronger.
Yeah.
And I really don't need the extra little push, but once in a while I do look for it.
Yeah, heck yeah. That's one of my favorite things. Actually, it's funny, is driving home, today and driving here, I was just listening to something, on a positive note, because not every day goes as planned as you would like for it to go, right? Or as smooth as you would like for it to go. And even though I would say, an optimistic person, for the most part, happy, there's some things that will get you. And I was just like, right before the podcast started, I was like expressing it to my brothers, because it's not even that that it's a negative. It's just sometimes certain things are just frustrating, and it's just an inconvenience through your path. But I think you have to go through those things, right? You have to get frustrated. You have to slow down and get PO'd, because those are the things that are going to build, number one, they're going to build your character, but they're going to prep you for the harder, more difficult situations that you're going to face with later on in life. Do you think there's motivation that's not as healthy, that people are probably picking the wrong things to get pushed on?
I do believe so. I think it's all about the approach that someone takes. It tells a lot about their character.
Yeah.
For example, if a coach or teacher, anyone that's in a leadership position, needs to learn how to adjust their strategy based on each individual person's needs. As a student or a player, they might have different things that make them tick. Some people take criticism better than others, and you can use that to, enhance their skills and make them a better player or student. That'll help them maximize their potential, become a better overall person. But on the other end, there's some people that don't respond well to criticism or verbal motivation. So as a leader, you might have to learn how to lead by example as well. So there's different ways to motivate people, and you have to adjust your style depending on who you're trying to motivate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's nothing worse than someone trying to motivate you or talk you into something they never did, or they never experienced. That's like, that's beyond frustrating. Or, you can go through it, or you can say it all you want, but you're not. There's no impact there for me. Sure. When choosing your career path, what should people look for?
Find something they're passionate about. That's what it's all about. Don't just do something because you want a paycheck.
Yeah.
Your goal is to make an impact on the world, and I feel like as a teacher, you want to see the improvement on a daily basis by each individual in your classroom.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You want to, down the line, have a student come back after graduating college and say, "Oh yeah, Mr. Eberhardt, you made such an impact on my life." That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Making kids happy and seeing them fulfill their potential.
Yeah. That's what we talk about, right? Positive impact, having a positive impact, just crushing it in a way that we know is going to, as you said, influence somebody. And about I believe it was episode 169, where I was talking about you're being watched. And whether it's your little cousins, whether it's other coworkers or friends that you have, they're watching you. And even that is like one of the things that I never realized for myself, anyway, on my own journey, till like years later, that people were like, "Yo, whatever happened to X, Y, and Z? Why did you quit?" And I'm like, I didn't quit. It's actually still available. I'm like, "Oh, really?" And then bam, there goes a conversation. I'm like, I never even knew anyone was paying attention to that. But for me myself, I have two sons that I know that they're watching everything I'm saying, I'm doing, how well I'm treating their mother, because then that's how they're going to treat their significant other. All those little things, you're being watched for everything. And initially, it seems like that's like a stressful thought. I was like, dang, when can I relax? You don't, and you will, but you don't in a sense that don't let that take over. Like, you get energy where it's needed. And because I always tell them, like, there's no off button. I have to always be on. That's called being a man. That's called growing the heck up. Yep. That's called, doing what the heck you got to do for your family. There's going to be downtime. Like, my boys go to bed. They're up in bed by 9. I don't go to bed at 9, so I can't complain and say, I still have, even if I went to bed at 10, I still have a whole hour to myself, where I can decompress and do the things that I like, watching sports or reading a book or catching up on certain things that I need to do. But yeah, it's so true. We're always being watched, and I don't mean that in a negative way. That's in a positive way, and it's how you take it. If you want to take it as a negative way and you don't care, and you're out there yelling and at your kids and your family and all goofy in that sense out in public, that's what you want to be perceived as. That's on you. And if you believe in the law of attraction by any means, that's all going to come back. And it's all going to come back by a different source. If you're out there thinking, oh, no one's watching, no one cares, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 20 years, now your kid's doing the same thing. And now you're the one that's embarrassed. Rather, when he was a kid, he was embarrassed of you. Somehow all that stuff weirdly, manipulates itself to work out that way. All right, so let's kind of switch it up. What has been your most memorable moment in your career?
I would say graduating from Bucks. Yeah. Just because I went through all that adversity of changing the major 4 times. I even had some semesters where I just took off because I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. I just need to kind of mentally regroup. Yeah. So that year off, did wonders for me. There was times, too, where I just couldn't afford it. I didn't get any financial aid at first. I was paying out of pocket. Yeah. And I got to the point I just couldn't afford it. Yeah. So there was little challenges like that I had to overcome. But then when I was ready to get back at it, I was a totally new person. Yeah. It's like a whole new Nick right here. Yeah. And that's what you need sometimes. You just need to self-reflect and say, what can I do to make myself a better person, better student? And I did that, and I never looked back.
That's awesome, man. All right, so at this moment, we're going to pause really quick, do a little advertisement for the Bless Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Get your merch. We are having a pop-up shop at the end of the month of November 2019 here at Miguel's Riverside Barbershop. Date to be disclosed, time to be disclosed, but we're going to have some exclusive items. We got the koozies, we got the pins, we got the new Bless bands in assorted colors, kids splatter long sleeve Bless logos. We're gonna have exclusive, I'm gonna say right now, Blessed Vibes only long sleeve shirts. Super dope. Again, very exclusive. That is, a lot of the stuff won't be available online, but we have a ton of merch online that you can get at bless.com. That's BL3SSED.com. All right, man. Closing this bad boy out. Explain to us, how do you manage your work-life balance? How does that work, or is it all mushed together?
It's tough at times, but I would say it's all about prioritizing what's the most important in life. Yeah. So obviously it's always going to be education. Yeah. Whatever it comes down to, homework, get that done, take care of that, everything else will fall into place. There has been times, though, I'm not going to lie, where I would go get all my homework done Monday through Thursday. So I'm condensing a week's worth of homework into like 4 days. Yeah. And then I'm working, I'll go into schools on Friday morning. I'll wake up like 6 a.m., go to schools, observe some classes for like 4 hours, go to work from like 12 to 6, come home, eat dinner, do homework until 11 o'clock, go to sleep, wake up 9 to 5 the next day, 8 to 4 on Sunday. Yeah. And my job is I work at a pretzel factory, and it's very busy on the weekends. We have a ton of orders. Yeah. So it's a physical and mental grind. So on those days, I don't want to come home and read 300 pages of a book. So I really do my best to get everything done in about 4 days, the days I'm not working, Monday through Thursday. So wow. It's really hard, though. Yeah. I don't know how I do it. But again, it's just I see the bigger picture, and I'm pushing myself as hard as I can to get it done. And I'm doing really well in all my classes. I have all A's so far, except for one class. I have not doing as well, but I'm working on it. So
yeah, absolutely. What's your estimated time of completion?
So I'm looking at fall of 2021 is when I'll do student teaching if everything goes according to plan. Nice. And then after that, hopefully land a job and get going. Luckily, I'm debt free right now, so I was able to, after graduating from Bucks, take the spring semester off. I was able to work full time, save up a ton of money, and pay out of pocket for this semester and the spring semester coming up as well. Not many people can say that.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to the work ethic. I told my employers, like, look, you can schedule me every single day. There was one point I worked 13 days in a row without an off day.
Yeah.
And the paycheck was huge.
Yeah,
like,
it's awesome.
It's all about making that paper, you know?
Yeah, heck yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so outside of what your motivation is, how do you think folks should get, what's the best way they can get motivated, right? So you got to be optimistic as you are. You have a great outlook on life. How do you put it all together? Let's just say that. How do you put it all together? Being optimistic and being motivated all at the same time, knowing you're going to hit the hit some challenges while you're going through it. What's a tip that you can give to somebody?
Find ways to kind of decompress. If you're stressing over something, take a walk outside, smoke a cigar, whatever you're into, just do it. Make sure it's legal, obviously, but do it. Just go out, play some basketball, sports, talk with somebody on the phone, whatever it might be. Just take some time away from what you're doing and then jump back into what you need to do. Sometimes that little break, it could be as small as 5 minutes, does wonders for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all about being mentally sharp, and I feel like if you are, you'll be in a good spot. I actually have a motivational strategy that I try to implement at work. Yeah. I feel like it's pretty successful. If you don't mind if I share it with you guys.
Absolutely.
The first thing I feel like you should do is make a personal connection with somebody. Find out what school they go to, what they major in, some of their interests and hobbies, etc. This allows the person to feel comfortable with you and their new surroundings. And it also helps you to establish your credibility as someone who they can rely upon and trust. If they know that they can go to you and say, all right, well, I know that Nick's a guy I can rely on. He's a guy that I know will help me out if I need it. That's what it's all about. Yeah. Same thing. That's what I want to apply when I become a teacher. I want to gain the trust of the students first.
Yeah.
Once I do that, then I'll do the demonstration stage, which is, if it's possible, I'll show the person the skills that are necessary to complete the task. Some people learn really well by watching others. So I feel like that's something I would definitely implement. And then after that, I would empower people.
Yeah.
In order to do that, obviously you already gave them the skills that they need. You demonstrated it to them, so you let them do it. You let them get the hands-on experience, and as you're doing it, provide positive feedback, so that way you're making them feel like what they're doing is worth it, and they're doing a good job. After that, you would then continue to just point out how they did, show them maybe better ways to do it, but not completely knock them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you already established credibility with this person, so they're going to respect what you're saying to them. Yeah. They're not going to take it as criticism. They're going to take it as, all right, Nick's just giving me advice. Nick wants to see me do well. So that's kind of my motivational strategy, and I hope to apply that as a teacher as well. Yeah,
I like it. I love it. Leading by example. That dude, with a huge one in there is that constructive criticism, man. The reason why that's huge, it's as you say, it's not even necessarily it's perception, because sometimes it's like how you come off saying that. Sometimes people are a little rough around the edges. Sure. And it sounds like they're either trying to clown you or, just talk down on you. So it's definitely that approach on how, you apply that constructive criticism is huge. That's all, very helpful. So I think we're going to switch things up, and we're going to ask Nick, final question, and you can elaborate as much as you want. Okay. What is your prediction for the 76ers this year?
Ooh. That's a tough one. As you guys already know, that's my team right there.
Playoff bound?
They're definitely playoff bound. There's no denying that. I would be disappointed if they're not a top 3 seed in the East. The talent level's just too good to not achieve that goal at least. And I'd say conference finals at least. If you don't make the conference finals, that's a disappointment in my book. Yeah. I'm sure you guys would agree with me on that.
Absolutely.
Obviously, as a fan, you want the championship, but it's all about taking small steps. And that's as individuals too. We need to take small steps. You're not going to rule the world in a day, but you can definitely get there if you put in the hard work and try. Same thing with the sports team. They put in the work. They kind of bond together. I think they could do something special.
Nice. I like it. So there you have it, folks. Going to the playoffs, baby!
Playoffs. Let's go.
All right. So there you have it. We like to close things out with quotes. And the first one is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Life is a journey, not a destination. And the second one is by Henry Ford. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. All right, so there you have it, Motivated Optimism. In this episode, we have special guest Nick Eberhardt. We cover topics that range from choosing career paths, transfer students, motivation, optimism, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Henry Ford and Ralph Waldo Emerson. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.